The first thing we're going to do is to prepare all the pieces. It's a very important part of sewing to have your interfacing on, to mark all the pieces so that they go together really smoothly when you're sewing. So what we're going to do is we're going to prepare the facings that will sit in the top afterwards, and then we will be ready to move on confidently to the next chapter. So let's get started and prepare pieces. Now I've cut out all my pieces. The next step will be to cut out my interfacing. We only need interfacing on the facings right here. So I'm going to cut those. It's very important, don't leave that out, otherwise it gets bigger and bigger. And I'm going to cut that in this violin here. And when you're choosing your violin or your interfacing for something, you might want to choose an interfacing that is quite soft, always soft. I never like the other type. And for your interfacing, you definitely want to use a interfacing for woven fabrics which doesn't stretch, so it holds in your neckline better. And you can cut your violin the same way, you know, always trying to have the pattern on the right side of where you're cutting. There we go. And that's my interfacing cut. And now we can move on to preparing all our pieces. You will need the little form band here as well. I'm going to put that onto the piece, so you might want to get that ready. And we're going to prepare the rest of the patterns. We want to do a little bit of snipping here. And we're going to pick them up as they go, one at a time, and snip them where they need to be snipped. I'm going to start with my sleeve lining at the top, at the bottom, once. That's one thing. Let's see what's next here. Next, I'm going to do my snipping on my sleeve. And again, I just want to snip the lower bit and the upper bit here. So there we go. So that's done. The other thing you want to mark on your side panel is just where the seam is going to be and where the front's going to be, so that you don't get confused. You do that also on your little sleeve bit I've got here. You do the underarm and you do the upper front, you snip that, and then that's all clear. And then we move on to our back. All you have to snip is the center back, of course, and that will be fine. And then on the front, you will mark the center front, and I'm just snipping this as well, and that's it. I've marked all my pieces. That's all I need to do. Now we can move on to the next step, and that is to add some interfacing to this critical area. Now you want to put your corner here where we're going to have that really sharp corner with the fabric. You want to put that on with the underside facing up. In my case with my linen, it doesn't really matter. And we're going to reinforce this area. So what I'm going to do is put my form band on from one side, and then I'm going to put it on here from the other side, so that this part where I'm going to have to cut and turn will come out perfect. And on my top, that's this point here. And if you don't interface it, it's very likely to rip out. So what you do is give it a jolly good press. You don't really need steam. It doesn't hurt if you use steam either. And once that's in, it's going to be firm enough. And I'm going to do the same, obviously, on the other side. And I'm also going to do it on the back. So I'm going to cut myself some little strips here. It really is just about that top part. And again, I'm just going to put the interfacing on and make sure that it sticks. Beautiful, that's it. The next step is to mark where you're going to sew this corner here. This is not an easy corner to do. So what you want to do is mark your seam allowance on both sides. There we go, 1, and on this side 2. So I know where my centimeter is. Now you can take a ruler, or you can do it just by eyesight. You can go up on both sides, and they're going to hit each other, obviously. And it's amazing how high you're actually going up. When you look at where I put my violin, I could have been a bit taller here, but it's okay as long as I catch this point. And I'm going to draw a line over the top. Now we're going to do exactly the same on the other side as well. So you grab your tape measure again, you mark yourself the 1 centimeter seam allowance on both sides. Go up here, just use my ruler or my tape measure, come a ruler like that, go straight up and draw a line across, and we're ready to go. Now we're going to iron the interfacing onto the underside of our facing. I've got the back facing here, which is quite a lot bigger than the front facing, because the front facing is a bit smaller and at the back you've got an elastic. So it gives you a really nice shape all the way around. So leave your iron on for about the count of 8. Then you lift it off and move it to the next part. Make sure the sticky side is facing downwards. In school, the kids always did that. Oh my God, the iron always had so much interfacing on it. And then at the end of the day, after the end of the school day, I was there like scrubbing it all back off. Right. And I do that, of course, for the front and the back. One of the things that I tend to do personally, is my preference, you don't have to do that, is I'm going to get it on first a little bit, and what I then do is turn it over and give it lots of steam as well to really make sure. Some of the cheaper interfacings will kind of like stick regardless of what you do to the iron, because they can't take the heat. But when you turn this over and you're using cotton or linen, you can use any temperature you like, right? So you can go really hot. So now I can turn it over and go over it again with very hot steam. And then I know this won't come off. Now, the one thing that some of you have got like firmer fabric and you just want to secure the edge, you would use your form band. Now, obviously you don't need to use both. I just want to show you how well this works. I'm going to just put my form band on and when I need to go around a curve, all I do is cut it. It's like so simple, right? Some of it you can actually pull around, but it's dead easy and so quick. So if you don't actually need it because you're working with, say you have a sateen for the front, a cotton sateen, which is great, and then you have got like a chiffon here on the sleeve, that would be so nice. I would love to see one of those. Then, you know, you don't need interfacing galore, but you do need it around the neckline. So using the form band is a really good idea. So I'm gonna cut this as well, again on this side, and then just iron that one on. Right, like I said, you don't need both, but I thought I'd show you this because very often I don't even use the interfacing. Here you definitely need to, and maybe it's even good to have this second layer so it's really nice and stiff. Don't want any stretch on there. And I can do now my other piece.